Acadiana, and thanks again for tuning in to our series From Change to Change. And it's your boy Marcus Simmons, aka Chachi, and I'm a Lafayette organizer for Voice of the Experience, better known as Vote.
Hi everyone, I'm Consuela Gaines, aka Sway. It's good to be with all of you, and thanks for joining us today. Today we have a very special guest in-house with us, Miss Nureaka Ross, who is actually a candidate for City Council District 5.
Yes.
And we are so grateful and thankful for Nureaka to be in-house with us today. How you doing, Nureaka?
Blessed and highly favored. And excuse the voice, by the way. I've been door knocking, and it's it requires a lot of conversation. So I hope you guys can hear me, but I'll do my best.
Yeah,
Awesome. And that's what it's all about, is getting out there and getting in the community, which we pay attention to a lot of things. We see you doing some amazing things in Lafayette.
Yes.
And first, we want you to introduce yourself to people who aren't familiar with Nureaka, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what led you to running for this office.
Okay, so first portion, I'm born and raised here in Lafayette from Macomb Street, South Sterling. I even lived on Piers, Short Street, and off of Matleen and San Antoine. So I had an opportunity to live in various areas of the north side, but I left for the military. I served active duty Army. I was a geospatial intelligence analyst, and the ordinary soldier has one job. I had two. My additional job was a geospatial is one part, but the second part is an aerial center operator, which is ASO, and I conducted aerial operations on the fixed wing King Air, and it's a mouthful. It's a mouthful. I had a TS clearance, but with that, it required a lot of training, a lot of training.
Sounds
and
like it.
yes, and unfortunately, in military intelligence, it lacked diversity. I was the only African American and female in 15th in my unit for a 2-year span.
Okay.
And then also when I went to aerial center operator school in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, I was also the only African American and female.
Wow.
So So that was one of the things. And so unfortunately, while serving, I almost passed away. If you guys didn't know why I'm back, that's why. I was temporarily paralyzed, my right leg. I had fluid around my heart, kidney failure, sepsis, DIC, multiple blood transfusions. They told me I had a 30% chance of surviving.
Oh, wow.
30% chance. My mother flew in to Fort Hood, and she was by my side. She was my advocate for sure. But I'm here, and I am a 100% disabled veteran, and I want to be very transparent with that because when I returned home, I noticed the younger generation, a lot of them were suffering from mental health. And that's one of the things I want to break those barriers because it's very important to me with that. I do have a diagnosis of PTSD. I'm very transparent about it. I'm very transparent because that's what we need. I believe we need that because it's like people see people and don't realize what they're going through or what they came through, what they experienced. And I know I'm more than what meets the eye. And I want to be an inspiration for the younger generation. It's okay not to be okay.
Yes.
If you know you're not feeling well, tell somebody. Go get help, go get treatment. And I want to inspire like any person that's listening, just know you can get through it, because I thought I wouldn't get through it, but I got through it, and now I'm here. And so I just want to inspire people with that. And another portion of me advocating for people that are homeless, are unhoused, because as a when I was little, we experienced homelessness. When Hurricane Rita came, a tree fell on our home. We were living on Pierce Street, and we lost everything. We lost everything. The only clothes we had left was in the dryer. That was it. So it really did something to me. I was embarrassed. I was scared to tell kids I'm wearing the same uniform for the last 3 days, you know?
Yeah.
And but I feel like that experience really helped me become the woman I am today. Like I'm a go-getter now, you know? And watching all that my mother endured, it showed me how to get it out the mud. You know that term. And it's like I know we've been there and now I can resonate with the ones that are unhoused. And I know what it's like. I'm not just an outsider speaking on these issues. I have been through it, lived through it.
Personally
You know,
experienced.
yes, living on my grandmother's couch for a lot of my life. And then the other portion that's also important is accessibility for those that lack reliable transportation. Pedestrian infrastructure is very important.
Yes.
And we need modifications for people that have things called disabilities. I hate the term disability, but I want to make it accessible. And when I lost my ability to walk and I couldn't feel my right leg, it changed the way I viewed the world around me. And so when I go to stores or walk in my neighborhood, I always think back, if I couldn't walk, could I walk these roads? Could I navigate the community? And then I started thinking deeper. And then I started looking at the data. And the data from the census show majority of the residents in my area lack reliable transportation. And the ones who do have a car, they're one car maintenance away from choosing between paying your light bill or getting your alternator fixed. And so, and then another portion of that is underlying health conditions. So a lot of members in my community might have, you know, visual impairment. So they may not have glasses on, but they need it. Or if they have it, the prescription is old. Or they have hearing problems and may need hearing aids, but don't have some. So I would love for our intersections to have modifications for those with disabilities. And I would love to at least focus on the hot spots where the data shows a lot of pedestrian incidents that have occurred. And having sidewalks, having speed bumps, having sidewalks that are adequately maintained. So if you have a wheelchair or a walker, you can navigate the roadway. Because the way I think, I want to be proactive and not reactive. And, you know, we have Evangeline Thruway. It's one of the deadliest roadways in the entire state. And we have a lot of pedestrians that unfortunately pass throughout our whole city. In the last 5 years, over 288 pedestrians have been hit.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I didn't realize it was that many.
Over 288 have been hit.
Wow.
And so some of them are still suffering from those injuries. And so their quality of life have been reduced, loss of wages. And then I start looking, people might assume it's the pedestrians or whatever. Some of these intersections, it has been multiple pedestrians. So at that point, you have to look at the design. Is the engineering of those roadways. And so I would love to have adequate lighting as well. And, you know, I would love for the adjacent intersections. So the nearest one to a health unit, clinics, urgent cares, I want the nearest intersection to at least have modifications for those with disabilities. If nothing else, at least crosswalks. You know, because we have Louisiana Avenue, a long roadway in the heart of the community. Very few crosswalks, marked crosswalks. So it's a problem for me. It's a problem, especially near our schools. We have people that walk. So I just want to, you know, talk about those issues. And while I'm here, those that were incarcerated. So yes. But thank you.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to the incarceration question, you know, because people talk about incarceration a lot in Louisiana. We have the highest incarceration rate in the state, in the country, in the world. And so, what do you see as a possible solution to end mass incarceration?
First, I believe communication. I believe that's important because you have several organizations and entities that are not working together. And so they're putting out information that's probably not updated or inaccurate or I believe starting communication. Because when we have people that are informed, we can do better. Because in order to change something, we first have to identify barriers. That's how I think, because the military taught me how to think like that. So I feel like if we can all come to the table, everybody come to the table, everybody that have a skin in the game, we all come to the table and talk about what is it that you know, what is it that you know, what do you think we can do better with, and then talking to those that have been incarcerated or some that are still incarcerated to see what they're experiencing. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but one of the things I spoke about was the work release program. We don't have one anymore.
Right.
So I did a public records request asking what happened to the work release. And I got a response. It was dissolved in 2019 to be reorganized. So what I'm concerned with is how long is it going to take to reorganize this? Because that's since 2019. So one day I was at
4 years later.
Yes. So I went to a city council meeting and I spoke about this actually, and in the audience was Don Landry. So
Don Landry is our district attorney.
yes. So outside in the parking lot, I approached him and I said, "Hey, do you have any information on the work release program? Why do we not have one? Because I believe it's important." So he said, "We don't have one." He believed is because of COVID. And then I explained to him it's impossible. And then I started, hey, if it's because of COVID, it was dissolved in December of 2019. That's before COVID.
Right.
And when I made that comment, he said, "You know what? I can't talk about this anymore. If you want to know more, come to my office."
Typical.
So what I'm saying is he said something on the fly that was inaccurate. But he assumed I would have taken that and ran with it.
Right.
But he didn't know I was informed. And so it was like, okay, you know what? She caught me red-handed. So I said, this is a problem then. So we can't have leaders saying things that are not accurate.
Right.
Yes.
So regardless of your position, if you don't know, it's okay to say you don't know.
Yes.
And that's one of the things, if Miss Consuela or Marcus say something to me that is, "Oh, Nureaka, what is this?" and I don't know the answer, I'm going to have the courage to say, "Listen, I don't know the answer, but I can find it."
Right.
Yes.
Matter of fact, if you know, can you help
I
me?
respect that better.
Yes.
Than
Yes.
making something
Definitely.
up just to tell me and to
Yes.
get me out of your face.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things
Yeah.
I believe is important is starting with the communication.
But going back to like you were saying about everyone with a skin in the game, let's get together and let's talk, and that's one of the things, like not just talk, because
Right.
that's how we got here.
Yep.
We have to have some auspiciousness about rectifying the situations,
Yes.
not just
Yes.
talk.
Yep. And one of the things for me, like, I really love to learn. So I believe, like, yes, people might, "Oh, she's young." Okay. But we all have to start somewhere. I feel like my military experience can account for some of the political experience that some may assume I'm lacking. I did missions that were high paced, intense, time sensitive. It relied on a lot of clear, concise communication. And I had a lot of soldiers I had to oversee. And to give people context on what I did, without giving anything away that's sensitive, but basically I had 2 jobs, and one of them, when a SWAT team go raid a home, there's certain information they need to gather before doing so.
Right.
That was one of my jobs. I gathered that information. And then my second part, when there's a high-speed chase,
Yes.
that was my second job. I did that in the airplanes. So, so when now I think I should just start by saying that. So now saying this, you're like, oh my God. So now you get this very high pace.
Right.
And so I believe doing that, if I could do that and be great at that, not only was I great, I was really good at that. I got a speech. Well, my brigade commander flew to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, just to give me a speech on my performance. And that people may not realize that's a big deal.
Right.
But with me being involved with community leaders, members of the community, everyone, I could be a sponge. I can take this information and grow because I have a lot of time to really be involved with the young people.
Right,
And I believe the younger generation we are the future. We are the future, and I know I have to start somewhere. And I feel like instead of telling the younger generation, to do this and this, I want to be about it. I want to show them, look, I'm doing it. Come join me.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Yes, politics can be weird and nasty, but I'm not interested in that. I want to run a clean campaign. I want to follow my heart because I know if I lose by following my heart, I still a win for me because I did it the right way. And because I'm young, I can try again. And I can try again and try again because I know what God has in store for me is for me. And I believe following faith is very important. And I believe for you and having this platform in itself is a step in the right direction.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you. And I feel like you're going in the right direction.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Right. And I would just like to say I personally have seen a lot of politicians, a lot of people run campaign, and look, it is very refreshing to hear you say those words. I want to run a clean campaign.
Yes.
I I don't want to be caught up in all of the ruckus
Yep, I
that
don't.
comes with politics.
Because at the end of the day, it's the people that's suffering.
Right.
The homeless population is suffering. All that turmoil that is happening, we're losing sight of the real goal.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And let's talk about for a moment. There's always been a lot of talk about them constructing a new parish jail.
Yes.
What is your position on that?
Well, some of you may have watched my video. I spoke at the city council about that. So that's a very complex issue. So my response to some might sound like, it's very important I say these things. So I'm not in favor of any form of privatizing institutions or any facility of that nature. I'm not in favor of it. And I get it's more of a public partner, private, ship or whatever, but I'm not in favor of it, partnership. But first and foremost, people need to understand, yes, we do need a new facility. We do, because the current one, it has a lot of problems. The maintenance, we're spending money basically on Band-Aids. And so I feel like we do get a new facility, but it's the location that was a concern for me. I'm not in favor of it. I believe we could have saved money by placing the new facility on land that we already owned in the unincorporated areas versus, purchasing land that could have been used for development that could have helped the community.
Right.
So I just wasn't in favor of that land. That's it. But there's another study that was done that I became aware of by the I want to say I might not pronounce it right, but I think it's the Vera Institute of Criminal Justice.
Vera
Yes.
Institute.
So I was reading about it, and building a bigger jail doesn't help.
No, it doesn't.
So that's a misconception. Bigger is better. No, because I read one study. In a Salt Lake City, they built a bigger jail, and it was overcrowded in 21 days. So, so that didn't address overcrowding if it's going to be overcrowded in less than a month. And so I feel like we need to have safeguards in place because I feel like people are being used for money. I feel like we're turning people into profit. And I'm not in favor of it. But we do need a new facility, just not the location.
Okay.
That's a concern for me.
And lastly, what gives you hope for Lafayette?
Oh, I'm smiling. Hope. Honestly, stuff like this, like having people hearing everybody ideas. So like anybody who come here after me or before me, I feel like that gives me hope. People talking about the issue. I feel like just being transparent and saying like we have a problem, you know, and some people might shy away from admitting they have a problem, and we do. We have a problem, and I'm not afraid to say, listen, I'm not perfect, but I want to learn. I can do better next time.
Right,
Will you afford me the
right.
opportunity to show you I can do better?
Right.
That's what I love to do. I'm very optimistic. And so people might say, oh, you have too many rainbows. And no, I have hope. I have faith, and I believe Lafayette can be better.
Right.
But I feel like working together, getting the young people involved is important to me. Like, that is one of the main reasons I'm doing any of this. I'm a mother, by the way. If you didn't know, I'm a mother of two. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. And my daughter is unofficially on the spectrum. So many people don't realize that. So that's important because there's some kids, you know, that may be on the spectrum but don't have a diagnosis. So they might be involved in things people might deem criminal activity, but they don't know how to regulate their emotions, or they might have behavior problems or a chemical imbalance in the brain. So I hear too many people in the community, oh, they lack home training, which might be true, but some of them have actual mental health issues or underlying issues overall. And I feel like people say, oh, that's not but the devil using them, or I feel like, okay, but they might have an actual mental health issue.
Right.
So they need actual medical treatment, you know?
Right.
So yes, I'm not in favor of pumping our kids with drugs or whatever, but some of them actually need this.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I believe I think of it like this. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Mental health, if we can, acknowledge, address it, get treatment, get help. I feel, because of the studies, it can curb drug use and curb violence.
Right.
Because I feel like a sane person won't be involved in certain things. You know, so I feel like addressing mental health can help both.
Yes. Yes.
Because a lot of them are self-medicating.
That's true.
So, yes.
That's true.
Yes.
I see you've been doing your homework. Huh?
Yes. I mean,
She's been doing her homework.
honestly, the last one said, like, I have to be very honest. Over last week, you know, on Congress Street, it was a very traumatic experience. A man that was homeless, my friend and I found him deceased on the side of Congress Street in a busy area near Church's Chicken, near Ambassador Caffrey. People driving by, you know, oblivious to a man laying there deceased. It was one of those things that's like, wow.
Like, when did we get to this?
Yes, and so it's like I read about it. So yes, I was doing my research, but seeing it, experience it, talking with them, it's better than any research can provide. Like, I had an opportunity to talk with the deceased friends, and it made me, wow, he was formerly incarcerated. He had a home, had a life, and he had all that. But when he got out, he had nowhere to go. So I believe we have a homeless crisis, but I feel like it's you know, intertwined with our criminal justice.
Right.
You know, I have many ideas, but I personally believe if he had a place to stay when he got out, it could have probably changed the trajectory of his life.
I'm pretty sure the heat had.
Oh, it did.
Had
It did.
something to do.
Yeah, that's what his friend said. He said that he was suffering from severe depression, and that he stated to several of his friends that he couldn't take it no more. He told them the heat's killing me. He said that, and they said he was actually becoming ill from the heat, and he suffering with depression and the heat. His friends told me personally that they believe he OD'd on purpose. He was in his, he was older, you know, and they said it wasn't by accident. They believe he did it on purpose.
Wow.
Because they said he was stressed and that he was very depressed, and he said something about like he hoped this is not what his life was about. Like they were basically saying that he did so much in his life, he hated that he was in this situation. Yes, yes.
So sad. So sad.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
But a reality.
It is,
very
it is.
sad.
Reality.
Yeah.
So witnessing that, it changed my perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yes, you might see me posting more things or, you know, saying more things about it. And I have to be honest, that experience was an eye-opener for me. It really was an eye-opener for me
Yeah.
because it was a reminder back to my childhood when I was in that situation with
Right.
my mom and stuff like that. So
Right.
yes, yes,
Right.
Right.
yes.
So Nureaka, we thank you
Yes.
for taking time to come and
Likewise.
spend some time with us.
Yes, I hope you guys could
today.
hear me, but if not, you can reach out to me on my website, vote-ross.com, or follow me on social media, Nureaka Ross. I would love to share more about some of my plans and my ideas to get the youth involved and be civically engaged. Because at the end of the day, knowledge is power.
It is.
So if we know more, we do better, and yeah. And thank you for being who you are and shedding light on your journey and using that to inspire
Yes, ma'am.
everyone.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I appreciate everyone. Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you, Nureaka. And we'll be back right after this.
Yes.
And welcome back to From Chains to Change. And I want to put this disclaimer out before we move any further into this show. If you see any candidates who are running for an office, we have to let this be known. We are a 501c3 organization, and we cannot and do not endorse any of the candidates that you may see on this show. Just wanted to clear that up so that everyone can know that we do not endorse. We are only providing the opportunity for these candidates to come onto our show and be able to share their platform with our viewers so that you can be more informed when you go to the polls this coming election, which is what we're about to get off into talking about. Let's talk about, Marcus, voter registration for formerly incarcerated people and how we could go about getting these folks registered to vote for the upcoming elections.
Right. So voter registration is, needless to say how important it is that we get registered to vote. Needless to say that. Because, you know, after having the candidate right here, you kind of understand that if you don't choose the right people, then we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. Am I correct?
You're right.
We're going to keep
You're
on
right.
getting what we're getting. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not happy about hardly anything that that people we have in office is actually doing. I'm not happy. Now that's my personal
Right.
opinion.
Yeah,
You know,
not naming names.
it's my personal opinion, but I'm not happy with just about nothing that they're doing because we're still in the same boat.
Right.
Okay, so it's very important that FIPs know that they have the ability to be registered to vote. Long as they are, according to Act 636, they only have to be out for 5 years. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
Steve.
right.
5 years without incident. And that's despite probation or parole,
Right.
without incident. And they can qualify to be able to vote. And why should they want to vote? Because the people that's closest to the problem is closest to the solutions.
Yes.
So they vote with their hearts. So that's why this platform that we have, it's it's almost imperative that we bring these people on so that people can be educated and get familiar with the candidates that's running for these elections, because these people will affect our everyday lives. Everyday lives.
Every day. And too many times, I hear people say my vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter. That's wrong thinking. That is totally, totally wrong. And when Vote was able to finally get Act 636 passed back in 2018, y'all, that was a miraculous day.
Yes.
We celebrated for formerly incarcerated people to be restored our voting rights. Too many people don't know that our voting rights have been restored, because previously, under the old law, a person had to come completely off of paper, off of parole or probation, before they can get registered to vote.
Right.
But now, under the new law, under Act 636, you can actually still be on parole, which I'm still on parole, and be a registered voter. Soon as I made my 5 years out of prison, the day of, I registered to vote. I had it at Sway Day. Remember that?
I have it videoed.
It was Sway Day.
I have it recorded.
I was so excited, and I have been voting in every election ever since, and plan to do so for the rest of my life, because being able to be part of that voting process is so important. And prior to me going to prison, I didn't understand the election process. I really didn't. A lot of things I'm still learning, but I have learned so much in the years that I've been home about the importance and the whys and the hows and whos of elected officials. And like Marcus said, how they play a role in our everyday life. And they really do. They really do. Even though we say, I don't want to deal with politics or politicians, there's no way around it. There's no way to get around it. It's there.
And if
it's
we
gonna
do,
be there.
and if we do nothing, what do we get? Nothing. Stay just the same.
Nothing from nothing leaves
That's
nothing.
right.
And so we have to be more proactive and come out of that stinking thinking that we don't have a voice or we don't have a say. And people who are formerly incarcerated, we tend to feel that way anyway, because of all the barriers that we face, all the hurdles that we have to jump over. And so we have to really, really tend to go a little above and beyond your average person.
Right.
But in the end, it pays off. I promise you, it pays off. Because especially when I'm able to see, and it doesn't always happen, the person that I voted or they win,
Yes.
and they get into
Yes.
office.
Yes.
It's an exciting thing.
It's like a Mike Tyson
to be a
fight.
part of that process.
It's like going to a Tyson fight.
It's exciting to be a part of that process and be able to say, I'm so-and-so's constituent. I call them, I pick up my phone, and I communicate with my elected officials.
Right.
And that's what people have to learn how to be able to do, is to communicate with your elected officials and hold them accountable.
That's right.
Because, they're out here, you see them as candidates in the community, promising, saying what they want to do. And then when they get in office, you may see something totally opposite.
Exactly.
And that's when the accountability comes into play, because that's when we have to start holding them more accountable for what they said they were going to do as opposed to what they're actually doing.
And we have to remind them that they work for us. They work for us.
We don't work for them.
We don't.
And they're term limited.
They're term limited.
They're term limited.
Term
We're
limited.
not. We're not term limited. And we pay attention. We're at the Capitol. We pay attention at city council meetings. We know what's going on We paying attention. And that's what people have to learn to do, is start really paying attention to what's going on, what's being said, and what's not being said. And as a registered voter, you have so much power. So much power. Because I start thinking about, I wasn't born during the civil rights era, but I read the books, saw the movies and the stories about Martin Luther King and all of the things they went through to help, to get, voting rights and make sure that we were able to do that. They knew the importance. They discovered it, and they wanted more of us to be informed about the voting process. And it's unfortunate that even in 2023 that we're still fighting. We're still fighting to be able to exercise our right to vote. Well, guess what? We don't even have to fight that in Louisiana, of all places. We don't have to fight that anymore because we have it. It's been restored to formerly incarcerated people. Too many of us don't know this because some people have been out of prison for 10, 20 years and they don't know. When they came off of parole, they could have registered to vote immediately. And been voting. Because when Act 636 came in, some of the first people we registered were people that had been out of prison for 20 years, 20 or more years. They didn't know they could have been registered a long time ago. And so we want to try to make sure that people know these important dates, because the deadline to register to vote in person, by mail, or at the Office of Motor Vehicles is September 13th. So mark that down. Y'all make sure you mark that down. The deadline to register to vote in person, which they want formerly incarcerated people to register to vote in person, because we still need to have that certificate from our probation and parole office saying that we're eligible to register to vote. So that in person, by mail, or at the Office of Motor Vehicles, September 13th. The deadline to register to vote through the Go Vote app, that online registration is September 23rd. Early voting, it starts, y'all, it's just next month, September 30th through October 7th, excluding Sunday, October 1st, from 8:30 a.m. to 6 o'clock p.m. So let me tell you, download that Go Vote, and it's GEAUX, Go, the Cajun way of saying go or spelling Go Vote app. It is the Secretary of State app, where it has all your voting information there, and you can actually register to vote through that Go Vote app. You can check to see if your registration is current.
It's current.
If you moved, you want to make sure that you go in and change any necessary information. If you want to change your party affiliation, you can do that. You can do all of that in the Go Vote app, and I encourage all of you to download that Go Vote app. You can get it whether you have an iPhone or an Android. You can still get your Go Vote app, download it on your phone, and it's very, very helpful for you, because it could also give you your ballot, who's going to be on your ballot, who you will be able to vote for. It would also show you where your early voting location is. All of this information can be found on your Go Vote app.
It can also it will also inform you if you have, for some reason, been purged.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't know that there's been a purge that's taken place within the past couple of years. So a lot of people, we've discovered, once they go to the Go Vote app to see if they're registered, find out that, hey, I've been voting all of these years, and all of a sudden their name has been depleted from the list.
Yep.
Right? And so everyone, it's very important that you go and download that app to find out if you're actually active on the voter registration.
Yes, yes. The deadline to request an absentee ballot is October 10th by 4:30 p.m. other than military and overseas voters, okay? You can request an absentee ballot online. You can go through the Go Vote app or in writing through your Registrar of Voters office. The deadline for registrars of voters to receive a vote absentee ballot is October 13th by 4:30 p.m. And on election days, the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I hope you guys recorded these dates. They're very important, and it's even more so very important for you to get registered to vote if you're not already registered. And for you to already be making plans to get out and early vote. I love to early vote because I love the location where I'm able to go. It's plenty parking, and it's so convenient. It's very convenient. I love to early vote. I haven't voted on an actual election day. I don't think I will.
Right.
I like to early vote. I like to go ahead and get it out the way. It works for me.
It's good for me to be able to exercise my responsible side, because truthfully, like, anything can happen later. If you knock it out the way now, situations, circumstances arise, it's done and it's over with, rather than trying to be in a rush, and then when you show up to the polls, there's a line around the corner, so then you get discouraged and you end up not voting.
And it's too hot to be standing in a line. Well, hopefully it'll be cooler by then, but you never know in Louisiana. We got some weird weather. So I do it early. I encourage everybody to early vote. Get out there and vote. That's what's important. But also, we definitely want to invite you to our next monthly meeting. It will be September 21st, Thursday, September 21st at the Downtown Convention Center. Yes, from 6 to 8 p.m., 124 South Buchanan Street, right here in Lafayette, Louisiana. We always are looking for formerly incarcerated people to come and be a part of this organization. We don't have membership fees or anything like that. We just ask of your time, and we work really hard to educate our members on different issues like voting, and how to get these laws changed and passed. And definitely we try to make sure that you are informed about the different candidates who are running for these elected offices. I mean, we have some major elections coming up right here in Lafayette. Locally, we have mayor and city councilmen, and we have some state representative seats that are up. School board. So there's even going to be a candidate forum that we're partnering with on August 31st. That will also be at the Downtown Convention Center. So mark your calendars for that. Save that date, August 31st. It will be a candidate forum, and you'll be able to hear from people like Nureaka, who was just here, to hear about what their platforms are and what they plan to do in those different elected offices that they're seeking.
I before we go, I would like to implore the part about voting, why it's important, and I like to go a little bit deeper than what we previously done. We use this terminology, love. We use this thing all the time, so much, and we really don't even recognize what love really actually means. you know, that word love really means to, you know, in my perspective, and is to be able to protect the people you say you love. Be proactive in protecting the people you love, not waiting until we're in a crisis or in a situation to try and protect them. When we have the opportunity to vote and be proactive by putting people in the office who is us, you understand?
Yeah,
or
people
people
that's gonna
who
represent
who
us.
actually, you know, can identify
Right.
with the needs and the wants of our
And that
community.
goes back to those closest to the problem or closest to the solution. So a lot of times me personally, I would like to see someone in office who has similar experiences
Right,
that I
right,
have.
right,
You know, not someone who doesn't have a clue about the
Right,
needs
right.
of the community that they're serving or wanting to serve. I want them to have some skin in the game, basically.
Right, exactly.
I want them to have some
Exactly.
skin in the game and not just, you know, just coming out of the blue and decided to run for this office for whatever reason, and you've never even made a connection with that
Right.
community.
Can't.
I want to see candidates who actually had some skin in the game, and that's how I choose who I decide to
Same as me.
elect
Same
into
as
office.
me. I like to be able
Proof
to
is in
have
the
a
pudding.
conversation. When I run into I ran into a candidate, no name, at the, where was it? At the mall the other day, right? And at the furniture store. And hey Chachi, you know, beyond hey Chachi and adapt, couldn't converse about anything. Nothing we could converse about.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, you know, and we were actually trying, and really what no
Really
connection, no connection.
No
So
connection.
like you, I would prefer to have people who I can be myself
Yeah. Have some skin
with,
in the game.
people that understand or overstand who I am, you know, what my needs are, someone that recognizes my intentions,
Yeah.
my actions, someone that knows that sees, let my actions speak for itself on whether or not how to judge me. You know, because you're paying attention to me the same way I'm paying attention to you. Because I'm in the community. Sway and we in the community. So if you're about the community, it's no way that you don't know of Sway and me.
Right.
It's no way possible.
right.
Right? So that's pretty much how I try to judge the candidates that I'm going to vote for.
And we definitely, as vote, we want to see candidates who are really going to represent the formerly and currently incarcerated populations. Because a lot of issues affect us while we're incarcerated and when we're released. And we definitely don't want a candidate who's going to turn a deaf ear to our issues and the things that are important to us and our families and our communities.
Right.
So when we see a candidate who is saying, we're not doing the criminal justice reform this go round. No, we want to lock them up, throw away the key. That's where you
You lost us.
vote. You
Yeah.
lost us. You lost us. You know, so, and like I said, you know, we have to really pay attention to what people are saying and get to these candidate forums. I mean, the one on the 31st, I know that's not going to be the only one. There will be many throughout the election season. You'll get an opportunity to meet these candidates, to talk to them, to ask them some really, really hard, tough questions, to get into some debate and discussions with them. Use those opportunities wisely so that you can make informed decision on who you want to vote for in these coming elections.
And FYI, if you are a candidate, Sway just kind of gave you a little bit of game on what we like to hear improving the criminal justice system. But don't think that you're just going to come have a conversation with us and sound good about prison reform, because even if you get past us, you're term limited.
That's it.
You're term limited.
Term
The next
limited.
go round, we're trying to get you out of there.
And I want to say they passed a bill this past session about recalling, being
able to recall. Right.
Some of these elected officials.
What is it, within a year or months?
I don't
We're
remember
gonna have to
exactly,
refresh
but
on
it's
that.
something about being able to recall an
government
elected
officials.
official.
Right.
Okay, so I mean, this is the type of stuff we have to be on top of. I know it exists. It won't be hard for me to find it.
Right, but we're not hearing nobody talk about it.
You know, so and that's the accountability part. If someone gets elected into office and they're not doing what they told you they would do, you get them recalled.
But we have to do it collectively, not just one person. It has to be
it
togetherness.
takes signatures of some
signatures.
thousands of people
Right.
to get that done. So in closing, again, we want to invite you to our monthly meeting in September, which is September 21st, Thursday evening. We always have something delicious to eat.
Oh, always.
Come, bring a friend.
Please.
Dress casually. We always have fun. And we will do our best to make sure that we give you all the information that you need when it comes to the voting and election process.
Okay.
All right. Thank y'all, and y'all have a great evening. Thank you for watching From Change to Change.
No surrender,
No retreat.
no retreat.